Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Daisel. I'm from the UNISA Directorate for Counselling and Career Development. A very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us this afternoon. Just some announcements before we start with our presentation. You will see that your cameras and microphones are currently disabled, but we will enable these during the Q&A session. You are, however, welcome or encouraged to post any questions or comments that you have in the chat or the Q&A in Teams as you are listening to the presentation. We just ask that you don't share any personal information, that is your personal email address or telephone number in the chat or Q&A. That is just to protect your privacy. We are recording the session or the presentation, and you will receive an email with a link to the recording. And we will also be publishing the recording on our YouTube channel that I will share with you later in today's session. So with that, I'm just going to introduce our speaker to you. She is Dr. Tshepiwa Kodisang. She's a senior student counselor at the UNISA Directorate for Counseling and Career Development. She completed a BA degree, honors degree in psychology and criminology, master's in clinical psychology, and a PhD in psychology at UNISA. In her current role as a senior student counselor, she supports students through therapy and career counseling. Dr. Kodisang is passionate about her commitment to supporting individuals to develop and grow. So on that note, Tshepiwa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, giving me an opportunity to be here again today. I know you have to choose from a pool of us. Last week we were talking about emotional intelligence, and today we are talking about the self-confidence. I was talking to somebody yesterday who were talking about all the C's, and one of the C's is competence, and another C that is important is confidence. So if you have the competence when you are studying at university, one of the things is to get the competence. But if you have the competence without the confidence, that also impacts on you. So why self-confidence matters? As I said, self-confidence shapes how we show up in our studies, our career decision, and how we relate to others. It affects our motivation, willingness to try, and ability to grow. So just talking about the two C's, the competence and the confidence. So the confidence helps you to show up what you have in your competence, in your studies, in your career. But it's also one thing that motivates you. So you might have the competence. If you don't have the confidence to show up what you have, that is very problematic. So myth about self-confidence, you either have it or you don't. That's not true, is a myth. I always talk about self-confidence that you must remember it's like building a house. You need different aspects of the house. So it can never be like you've just find a house. Even when you have built a house and it's complete, you need maintenance. So self-confidence is a continuous thing. It's a process. You are continuously building your self-confidence. And that's why self-confidence is a skill you can build with practice and intention. That's also a myth. That's not a myth. You need to understand, you need to build through that. The myth is that confident people never feel afraid or unsure. That's a myth. Even the most confident people, they do feel afraid. Confidence means taking action despite fear, not the absence of it. It means showing up and showing up for yourself, even though it's uncomfortable. That what it means about confidence, or that's what having confidence allows you or enables you to do. You don't shy away to say, sure, I'm so scared, I must rather not do that. Confidence means being loud, outgoing, or extroverted. People have got this misunderstanding that people who talk louder, they are more confident, and it's not true. Confidence looks different for everyone. There is quiet confidence that is just powerful. Sometimes one of the dangers is that people mask their lack of confidence by being very bubbly and all that, but within you internally you feel very scared and you actually don't live what you show. And that is more dangerous. Self-confidence is something that is very internal, it's very personal, it's inward. It's how you feel about yourself and how you show up. You said it's a myth when you said I need to feel confident before I try something. That's not true. You need to still feel scared, and action often comes before the feeling. Confidence grows through doing. I always say to people, you need to give yourself an opportunity to experience yourself differently. So you might be feeling very scared and feeling that you won't do it, but you give yourself an opportunity to experience yourself differently and also allow other people to experience you differently. That's what self-confidence enables you to do. So what are we talking about now? We have just been talking about the myth of self-confidence. Self-confidence is your belief in your own ability and your worth. So you believe I can do these things, even though I might not do it well, you still allow yourself to go through that with the hope that let me give myself an opportunity. And it's shaped by life experiences, interaction with others. Last week I spoke about social engineering. So each and every interaction you have every day, no matter how maybe things are insignificant, they shape how you look at yourself. Family dynamics and social messages, what people say to you, what your perception of what people are saying to you, successes, setbacks, and how you interpret them. All that shape you, how you experience yourself. Self-confidence is learned, it's not fixed. I always say human beings are not like trees, or they're not like nature or a mountain or a cave that is like fixed. Human beings are spontaneous and always in the making. So your self-confidence as well, it's not fixed. It's always in the making. It's work in progress in other ways. What is self-confidence? These are the components of self-confidence. The first one is self-awareness. You need to know your thoughts, emotions, and patterns, what you say to yourself and how you say that. The other aspect is positive self-image, how you see yourself, not arrogance, but healthy self-esteem. Arrogance is also an indication of somebody who do not feel good about themselves, because in arrogance, there is also a need maybe to break other people and to have an exaggerated sense of self. Self-acceptance, embracing your strength and flaws. So self-acceptance is having a very integrated way of looking at oneself with both strength and weaknesses, and resilience, bouncing back from difficulties, where I'm going through difficulty, but I'm going to be very intentional to go back at a space where I'm more effective. And when we are looking at this, I'm also thinking about what the cognitive behavioral therapy, they always talks about the three pillars, being very aware of your thoughts, and how your thoughts impact on your emotions or feelings, and how that affect you, how you act out or your behavior. Because at the core of each and every human being, you need to be aware of your thoughts and your emotions and your behavior, so that if you've got unhelpful thought or unhelpful thinking patterns that triggers negative emotions, and then you need to self-sabotage, or you behave in a way that is unhealthy, or you tend to do things that you later regret, that has got an impact on your self-confidence as well. Lisa, if you could be able later on to get that triangle of the CBT, we could again talk about it later, maybe during Q&A.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you. Let's now have a moment to reflect on a scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you currently in your career journey? And think about what's influencing that number. I think we can also post on the chat. Think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you currently in your career journey? What's influencing that number? You have got 5 minutes to just reflect on that.
Chipiva, I think we can do the same that we did last week. Since it's not a very large group this morning, you're welcome to post, but I'm also going to open the microphones. If you are not speaking, just remember to mute your microphone. But if you would want to respond by telling us instead of typing it in the chat, you're also just welcome to click on the raise button in Teams, and then you will be able to unmute your microphone.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's engage, let's interact. These workshops are meant to be interactive. Let's utilize the opportunity. Anybody who is willing to take the risk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome to unmute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hi. My name is Sulihle Kanile. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give myself a 7. I think I'd give myself a 7 because while I'm studying currently, I think sometimes it gets difficult to see the bigger picture in a few years. Where will I be when you're not there yet, if that makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so now I'm studying an advanced diploma, and then next year I hope to do a postgraduate, and then the year after that write my CTA. So I do have an idea of exactly where I want to be at certain time intervals. The only thing is, with certain setbacks that I've had in my life, you know, failing first year, things like that, I think sometimes you start to doubt yourself in, will I be able to take on the challenges when they come to me?
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's sort of, you already mentioned that sort of a difficulty that you experienced in your first year, despite that you have been able to complete a qualification. There is a sense of doubt at times to say, sure, will you do this? Will you be able to get through this again? And those are typical experiences that sometimes impact on our self-confidence and our sense of being. And even at times that voice, at times I say to people, within each one of us, we have got different friends in your being as well. There is a friend who is very critical to say, yo, don't be overexcited. Remember, you have just failed. A mean friend who just holds you back, who punishes you. And there is a friend who encourages you to say, look at where we are. We can do this. Look at how far you are. What is the next step. We are quite close. The question is, which friend do we allow to be more louder? And that's something we need to be very intentional to say, sure, what am I doing to myself? How do I intentionally sometimes become quite critical? What are some of the aspects of my life that has happened previously that I need to work through? I think I saw a post on the chat, but thank you so much.
Yes, Chipiwa, there's KO mentioned that they have 6 out of 10 because in their current career, they're in a totally different working space. Started at an IEB school from a public school. It's a totally different environment.
Sure. Yeah. So again, the change of environment, moving to a different environment could also make you question, will I do this? Do I have the capacity? You know, at times I talk to people about dealing with the difference, allowing yourself to embrace the different. It could be different in environment and all that, and wondering, who will I become? Of course, it could be overwhelming. Of course, we've got tendency whether I will survive, will I cope, but also think about what can you get out of this? How could this shape you and shape your experiences, and also maybe becoming a different version of you? Okay.
Chipiwa, we have another hand from Simpiwe. You are welcome to unmute. Simpiwe.
Good day, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, thank you. So I will read 6 because I am currently in a transitioning journey and it is overwhelming and hard. I just completed a diploma in public relations with distinction, but I'm coming from an engineering background. So some days I'm conflicted, and I even received a negative response from my employer when I tried to approach them to say that I'm looking for this opportunity. I just completed something different, and I was hoping for a positive one, but it was not positive. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us, Simpiwe. Again, you see, we initially spoke about what shapes the self-confidence. So now your confidence is quite high because you have just completed this qualification with the distinction, but you are in the process of being made. And I could imagine in your mind, you are so excited and you are hoping even the employer will be so excited. And when other people when we start receiving developmental feedback or negative feedback, sometimes human mind goes to start questioning yourself. And in most instances, the question is, have I done something wrong? Does it mean this won't work? I could imagine those are some of the questions you are thinking about. But you remember, you are currently in the work environment as well. You currently completed this qualification. So the issue is that you need to think about what you have, that yes, to this person it might not make sense. It doesn't mean everybody will like it, doesn't mean everybody will agree. However, what does this mean for me? Because if you hold this dearly and it's still worthy, then it does not impact on your self-confidence. But sometimes our self-confidence is impacted because we are thinking, because this is how I see this is how I feel about it. We also think the next person should see it that way. When the next person does not see it the same way, then it feels like a rejection and we start questioning ourselves. So even the issue of confidence, we must remember it needs to be coming from the internal. If we rely from the external, that's where we get very hurt. And then we are constantly looking for other people to validate us. Okay.
Thank you, Chapiwa. Thank you, Simpiwe. There's just another comment in the chat. Lebo said her confidence level at the moment is 5 out of 10. She has been struggling to pass a module, a management accounting module, for 2 years now, and it's the last module. I think I have a phobia now.
I could imagine emotionally, because of this experience of failing one module, you even question whether maybe have you chosen the right qualification? Are you good enough? Are you in the right career field? And those are things that you also need to work on, especially failing a module. You really need to work on to how did this impacted on you, but also to say, what is it about the model that maybe it's not aligned to my wiring, and having conversation with other people to say, when I approach this model, what type of framework? Because even failing model does not mean you are not good enough as a person. There might be something about the approach you need to use completely different to the other approaches, but that needs to be coming from a space I am still capable of doing that. And if then this model becomes what you use to define you, then that's where your confidence will also be dented. And that means every time you are thinking of writing this model, that comes on the forefront. And then sometimes you don't fail because you don't know. You fail because you are emotionally overwhelmed. And even when you are writing, then you are no longer believe it matters, and that will show up in the results. So thank you so much for all those conversation and discussion. Simpiwe, do you still have something, or you need to lower your hand?
Swelihle.
Silihle, so we haven't spoken to her.
We've spoken to him. I think it's the historic and yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move. So why is self-confidence so important? One of the things, low self-confidence distorts your thinking. You may interpret normal academic challenges as a proof that you are not good enough. That's what I just mentioned earlier. You might avoid opportunities like internships or speaking to lectures out of fear of rejection or failure, even when you are capable. I spoke to somebody last week who said to me, the way I have been performing, I'm thinking I must not even consider pursuing my studies further. And when we spoke, you could just see this person is robbing themselves for further opportunities because of skewed view of themselves. Also, negative self-talk becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, draining your energy and reinforcing a sense of failure. We also talk about this as self-sabotage. How you think, then it also gets aligned to how you behave or how you invest your energy. And then sometimes you are just working on yourself. You also downplay your wins or feel like you don't deserve success, making it harder to grow. I don't intend to use you as an example, but the fact that you have been failing this model, do you still say that you are almost 99.9% having this degree? Do you look at that and give gratitude? And what does that say to you? Or you are looking at, I have failed this model twice. Relationships and teamwork suffer when low self-confidence leads to self-criticism and judging others harshly. Because you judge yourself and you dehumanize yourself, even the smallest thing, you are not supposed to do that and all that. Unfortunately, you also do the same to other people. You don't have the ability to really relate to others as human beings and be kind and caring. You just become quite punitive and overcritical, and partly it's because you project how you treat yourself. What low self-confidence sound like? What's the point? I will fail anyway. I will never be as good as others. They will think I'm stupid if I ask. These thoughts can lead to avoiding opportunities, over-focusing on failure and undervaluing success, comparing yourself negatively to others, criticizing others as a defense mechanism. People who don't feel good themselves, or they don't think they are achieving anything, they don't celebrate their own achievement, they can rarely celebrate other people. They will always have something to sort of poke. So it's always a reflection of how they feel within themselves. So that's also very important, because we are also quite vulnerable where we take all other people's feedback as if they are genuinely, and you think, I have done something here. Sometimes you need to stop and say, sure, the feedback which this person is giving me, is it a true reflection of who I am? Or maybe I'm finding myself with someone who projects how they feel to other people. What self-confidence helps you to do? You can take action even when you feel unsure, because you believe you can learn and grow. You are able to take what we call a healthy risk. Ask for help without shame from lecturers, colleagues, peer mentors. People with low self-confidence judge themselves to the extent that they cannot ask the next person, but they will make it as if it's the next person saying that, oh, people are too busy, I don't want to be a burden, people don't understand. But that's all your issues. They are not the next person's issues. Set career goals and go after opportunities like internships, jobs, and leadership roles. Accept praise and recognize your own progress. People with low self-confidence cannot even accept praise. I always use this example to say, you can say to somebody, oh, you look beautiful. That person will immediately self-negate your comment, like comments like, ah, this dress, I bought it long time ago. So they are negating that. How could I look beautiful in an old dress? Or, ah, it's a dress, I got it at special, at PEP. So they are negating it doesn't come from maybe one of the highly flashy or expensive store. So they cannot just accept that this person says you look beautiful. It doesn't matter what you are wearing. You could be wearing boxes or whatever. Then just accept you look beautiful. You have dressed well, or you have done well. I was talking to somebody and I said, congratulations. And this person says, you can't congratulate me on just a bachelor's degree. Everybody does a bachelor's degree. And I'm like, why are you dismissing yourself? It's not everybody. We can't go around the street and everybody will have a bachelor's degree. So you still deserve to celebrate. Build stronger relationship through healthy self-esteem and the openness to other strengths. The last thing is that they are able to sort of come back from failure with resilience and reflection. And we can say they are able to continue in their journey of life, even though they have encountered setbacks. Because when you are encountering failures and challenges, that is still part of the journey of life. If you want to live life fully, you must be able to embrace those times that looks very rough, so that you can then be prepared for the greener pastures. We spoke earlier on about, things that shapes our self-confidence. There could be external factors like influence of family, friends, and society, past experience and feedback, cultural and societal norms, academic work, and work environment. That's what I also refer as social engineering. But also your perception of how you choose to respond to this also contribute. Internal dialogues or internal factors contribute. Self-talk and the inner dialogue. Mina, I don't deserve this. I can't do this. It's for other people. Fear of failure. All people who live with fear of failure and they can't embrace failure as part of the being they struggle. Perfectionism, neglecting self-care and self-compassion, that also contributes. So the question is, how do we build the self-confidence? The first thing, reflect and become aware. You will never be able to deal with something if you don't take time to acknowledge and to become aware. Taking time to just sit and reflect on where you are and maybe journaling, asking people for feedback, being in therapy or counseling can also help you. You know, at times just to sit and give gratitude, but also list strength or things you have overcome, simple thing. The next thing is about setting realistic goals. We know people with low self-confidence, they struggle to set goals. They can overcommit and then fail. That's part of self-sabotage. And they said, you know, I always fail, whereas they set themselves up for failure. You need to think about the SMART goals. They need to be very specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. What will you do and when? Break goals into manageable steps. The last part is practice positive self-talk. What do you say to yourself? How do you talk to yourself? That's very important. People think it's only other people who must talk to them, but at the same time, you need to talk to yourself and say, sure, this is what I'm doing. This is how I feel. This is how I do things. And this is who I am. You know, I can't do this. I'm learning to do this. It's quite different. When you say you can't, you condemn yourself. You see yourself with a person with self-deficits. But when you say I'm learning to present, you are giving yourself sort of a grace to learn and allowing yourself to fail as well. Use affirmations grounded in effort. I'm capable of grounding through this. I'm capable of getting a better mark if I just spend more time with myself or my studies or reach out to the lecture. How to build a self-confidence as we continue. This is one thing I like so much. There are two types of mindsets. There is what we call a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. People with low self-confidence, they tend to lock themselves in the fixed mindset. It's like intelligent, it's very static, desire even to look smart. But this is things they say, this is too hard for me. This is rigged apart. This will waste my time. You know, how dare you? I can't do this and all that. Then they avoid challenges. And when it comes to adversity, it's like, yo, this is like, I can't do this. They can't put effort. They just criticize, but they look at other people's success. But people who are on the growth mindset, intelligence can be developed and desire to learn. Yes, let's do this. It's hard, but let's try that. How can I solve it? You know, it's time to work hard now. You know, this is very important. How can I improve on this? So and they are even grateful for other people. Wow, this is incredible. You have done very well. They've got a sense to appreciate other people and appreciate when things are going well. They don't just criticize. So this is very important about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And I'm just wondering, when looking at this, where are you? Where do you tend to go, especially during the times of difficulty? Lisa? Here we spoke about Start small. Confidence grows through small, consistent actions. Every step counts. For example, speak in a group chat, even if it's to say hi. Instead of saying, I can't talk to a group of people, I become shy. Volunteer to lead one slide in a group project. Apply for a job or internship even if you feel nervous. Don't let the anxiety to paralyze you. Ask a question in a tutorial letter or online discussion. So even here today, how do you overcome maybe some of the things you have told yourself and just be part of this? And out of this experience, you can carry something that impacts on your self-confidence. Share your opinion in a safe place. I would want to imagine, Lisa, this is part of a safe space. We are online, we don't know each other. Whatever is discussed here is confidential. You could take this opportunity to risk and to challenge yourself. Set and stick to a study plan for one module, but also reach out to a lecturer, tutor, or peer for help. Just think about, what do I need? Can I rather talk to somebody about this instead of just sitting and I'm in pain or I'm feeling overwhelmed? Can I see what will come out of that? Also seek support and feedback. You are not meant to grow alone. You know, it's very important that you talk to other people, be open to how other people perceive you, because that also influences how you show up for yourself when you are aware of yourself. Find role models, peer communities, and mentors. One of the biggest challenges is isolation and loneliness. And I must tell you, when you are alone, your brain tends to think in a very awkward manner. Even my own brain, when I'm alone, it doesn't help me much. I tend to struggle. Just an example, yesterday I was in a panic because my emails are not showing up. It was a big thing. Then I just called Lisa. Lisa, this is what I'm going through. This is very stressful and overwhelming. She says, can I join you in that call? And she looked, she says, Madam, your inbox is still updating. I even said, you know, being an idiot, you can't be rewarded for that. But I had put myself, so I needed somebody to just help me to look at this thing differently, and it's very normal. So overcoming common challenges, self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Most students experience this, especially in new environments. Reframe, I don't know this yet, but I'm capable of learning. You might be at UNISA for the first time. You might be changing in environment. It could be a number of a lot of things, but can you just allow yourself to relax, to say, I've never done this before. It seems scary, but I'm also allowing myself to learn. Fear of rejection. I tell people that we reject ourselves first before other people reject us. Oh, they might not like my presentation. I might not write it very well. So then you have rejected yourself already. You have not even given to other people to reject you. So, but apply even if you feel scared. Raise your hand even when you feel scared. Say it even when you are not sure, because maybe other people can receive it as a brilliant idea. But for you to get out of that, you need to stop rejecting yourself. You need to look at the conditions you have put in place to treat yourself. Because when you reject yourself, you have got conditions such as, I must always get it right, I can make mistakes, and those are the conditions you impose on other people as well. Then we talk about setbacks. You need to pause, reframe, and strategize, and try again. Setbacks are part of the journey, and you need to embrace them in the journey to live life fully, even in academic life, even in career life, even in personal life. Use self-care tools, rest, and get support, but you also need to have boundaries to yourself as well as to other people. Let's look at career confidence habit. Celebrate effort, not just results. I always talk to the young ones to say, they say, yeah, I didn't get 90. I'm very disappointed. I was robbed by the teacher. I said, sure, just hearing that you wanted to get a 90, I'm very encouraged by your intention, and that's what I celebrate. So celebrate your intention, not the results. You wanted to do better, and that is something to be celebrated. And you have put effort as well. Keep a confidence log of things you have done well and things you appreciate. Speak kindly to yourself. Focus on what you can control. For example, developing your skills. Apply for that opportunity. Don't count yourself out. Lisa?
Thank you, Chipiwa. I'm just going to end off with the key takeaways. So you spoke about self-confidence that is built. It's an ongoing process. We're not necessarily born with self-confidence, but it's something that also changes as we engage with life. And then also the importance of small actions that can strengthen our beliefs in ourselves. And you are worthy of investing in your growth and dreams. So you don't have to wait for other people to give you permission or to make you feel worthy of investing in your growth and your dreams. And then we also thought to share this quote with you: confidence comes from showing up, not from waiting to feel ready. So we thought that was also quite profound. So we'll end off before we go to the Q&A on another reflection question. What is one thing you will do this week or even today to build your confidence? So take a minute to think about it. You're again welcome to post in the chat, or you could raise your hand and share with us. While others are thinking, just want to appreciate this comment from Simpiwe. Chipiwa, about thank you for the start small points. When I raised my hand to rate my current career journey, I was terrified to switch my mic on.
Thank you so much for taking that healthy risk and contribute to this discussion. And it says something about you. And really, that's something you need to think about it and take it further to say, sure, what am I robbing myself? Can I allow myself to experience myself differently? I could imagine all the things that you have thought about why you should not talk. They did not happen. Thank you so much. I can see other comments, Lisa.
Okay, so Brenda shared, what you can do differently, speaking well of myself, and that it can never be hard unless you try. And then Swelihle, I will do tasks that usually frighten me, like presenting a workshop for school learners to help them answer exam questions. That for me is quite a beautiful example of, you spoke about the SMART goals.
Yes.
Something very specific. It will happen this week. But yeah.
Yeah.
Simpiwe, your hand is up. You're welcome to go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So we usually have Monday meetings, and I will make sure that this coming weeks I speak up, because I usually hold back and think that maybe my idea, it is not important. I'm going to make sure that I speak up.
Yes. So I think you brought something that I always talk to people about. There is intention and impact. A lot of times we get discouraged because we always think the intention must be aligned to the impact. at times when I'm talking to people on a one-on-one, I would say, you don't have boundaries because you are always thinking about the next person. The most important thing is about yourself, to say, what do I need now? What I need now is to have this idea shared. And that's where it ends. Whether people will accept it at that moment or they don't accept it or they come later, that's not important. But this is what you are thinking. You have got this need, you share it, and you have honored yourself. So that's the intention. It might not have the impact that it has on you, but it's okay. Most of the time we think what we are thinking, what we are saying, it's like a universal rule, but that talks from also a deeper place where we don't have boundaries and we always also think on behalf of other people. Things might not make sense to me at that particular time because even maybe my thinking and my way of seeing things, it's not where you are. So what surprises me is that people will always take it, it means it's wrong or it means it was not good enough. And it doesn't mean that. It's because you don't have boundaries. That's why you are now judging yourself and being quite critical. I talk to Lisa every day, and sometimes I give her a suggestion. She says, no, Chips, that I don't think it will work out. But after that, then I've got another idea and all that. I will tell you what happened yesterday. Lisa and I was working on this presentation. She sent it to me, and I thought it's fine. But after 15 minutes, I realized something else, and I sent it to her to say, Lisa, I'm thinking about it. It doesn't mean the presentation that Lisa did was not good enough. I just have other thoughts that could complement this presentation as well to make it more effective. And even Lisa does that to me. But for the purpose of the work, we have to do this every day and give each other feedback without judging ourselves or judging another person. And that's what real life and allowing yourself to be and allowing people to experience you. Because think about how much you have robbed your colleagues and yourself other ideas because you don't want to share.
Thank you, Chipiva. There was also a comment from Kaya about starting a wins journal. This will build my confidence. And then Kwasi spoke about maintaining growth mindsets.
Yeah.
I've also just posted an image of where you talked about the setting realistic goals.
Yeah.
So, thinking about your intention this week, for example, could be to to maintain the growth mindset, but thinking about, what specifically from that growth mindset principles you would want to try out this week.
Yeah.
We also have a comment from Joyce. She said, thank you for the opportunity to raise our fear. For me, I would like to do away with the fear of the unknown, as I want to apply for a position, but I have this fear that I might not get it, and maybe it was meant for other people.
You see, already a classic case of judging yourself, because in that you might not get it. Possibly you have got reasons, but those reasons are not coming from the panel yet. So for the end now, what I'm hearing from you, you have got a need to apply for other positions, and maybe those positions are there. So you need to separate things. The first step, you have got a need to apply for another position, you apply. Then there is a selection process. Then there is the appointment. What happens in the selection, it's not a true reflection of who you are. We could have advertised for this workshop, but students do not come. It does not mean then our presentations are not good enough. It's just that people are busy. Like today, I can imagine this is the Easter weekend. People are moving around, people are traveling, people have got other plans as well. It has nothing to do with the presentation. But if we take it that it's a reflection about our presentation, then we are just judging ourselves without the facts. And it means we don't have boundaries. We need to focus on, we want to present, and just presenting here. It's not about people attending, it's about also getting more information. We put this on recording, we produce more information for students. That's also important. So as you apply, you might find that even typing your own CV, looking at your CV, you start realizing the skills and what you have that you have not been aware if you have not been applying. So you must not always, I would discourage you to look at the end goal, which is to get a job. That is not the focus. Think about other things like applying gives you an opportunity to look at your CV, to put yourself out there and to test the water. A lot of times we leave the reality in our heads. I'm one of the people who tell people that the reality in our heads is completely different to the reality outside of our heads. So can we rather leave the reality outside of our heads?
Thank you, Chipiwa. There's a question here from Brenda. How can one manage low self-confidence inflicted by bullies at work or school when one was actually delivering on the expected duties and all of a sudden you are made to feel like you are not good enough in this new space or environment?
In this presentation, of course, we need maybe in that case also very personal things that I would encourage you to book a session to deal with that. But one of the things is that how we negotiate a relationship is very important, even whether it's in workplace and all that. When you are doing your work, who are you doing it for? And last time we talked about emotional intelligence. So the impact of just doing your work well, you must know it doesn't mean to other people they will praise you. Sometimes they can start resenting you and all that, but you need to be aware, because at times most people get hurt and they then allow this to say, yo, where does this comes from? It comes from a place of people starting to feel inadequate as I'm doing my work well, and they are pushing me down, the pull down syndrome, where sometimes it's because I'm also vulnerable, because as I do things, I feel that everybody must see me, I must appreciate me, must acknowledge me. I could be here doing this presentation and you guys are thinking I'm doing well. But that's not a true reflection of my colleague, Lisa. Lisa can then say to my boss, but you know that Chipiwa does not work. I must not get hurt because that's Lisa's perception. Because she might think just doing this workshop is not work. And it's not that I must start taking what Lisa is saying. I must also realize I'm working for something very personal, and from where I'm coming from, I think I'm working hard. So it requires a lot, because that requires you being able to position yourself differently for yourself. That's why we talk about showing up for yourself. And self-confidence needs to come first from within, where you are also able to discern where this is somebody projecting their own issues on me. So it might require a personal space to work through that, because at the end, it impacts on you.
Thank you, Chipiwa. We've got a question in the Q&A. I applied for several positions career-wise, but I faced challenges because I'm not social networking and find it difficult to socialize with strangers.
So it can be a very difficult situation. However, you can also be able to work on yourself so that you are able to create spaces to get the information you want. You know, sometimes we put these conditions, like even things like I'm an introverted person, so I can't talk to people. It's not like you must socialize, but if you need information, are there different ways of getting information in a way that you are still contained and you can manage your being? I think that's one of the things that you can manage. I work with somebody who I always admire how this person can negotiate spaces like that, where this person is not very extroverted for what people would say, but has got a way of getting information, of managing things in a way without overwhelming yourself. So that's the first thing to say. One, we need to deal with your thought process. When you are thinking of talking to people, what type of thoughts do you have about yourself and what these people will do? But you also need to reframe that to say, can I manage this because I need this from this person? And I can imagine there have been other instances where you are able to do that, but maybe there is a challenge to move from the fixed to the growth mindset, because when you apply also without talking to people to say, you know, what do I need and all that, sometimes you just apply with limited information, but engaging with other people could help you.
Thank you, Chipiwa. There's also a question here. How can one overcome the challenges of self-image? For example, not having a perfect smile that affects a person's confidence. So beyond the smile, I guess it can also go, you know, I don't feel good about what I look like or what I'm wearing, and how that affects one's confidence. How do you manage those things?
Already you can hear how that person have set themselves up, because what is the perfect smile? Even as a clinical psychologist, I would not know what is a perfect smile. We smile differently depending on where we are. But again, it's a reflection of how you self-critic. You look at yourself, and even things that maybe are very insignificant and are just spontaneous. You then say, but I don't smile very well. I don't. So when we have got low self-confidence, we find something we just judge ourselves on, but is it even real? No, because if a smile is a smile, we just smile. There is not even any scientific formula of smiling. So again, it comes from the thoughts. Lisa, can you quickly just display, if you find it, that CBT thoughts, emotions, and behavior thing?
I will quickly find it. While I'm looking for it, there's also a question about which tasks helps, I guess, you to stay motivated and confident.
Me, as a person.
That's how I read the question.
Can we check it again? Do you mean me as a person or in general? Raise your hand or clarify.
Chipiwa, just remind me, you spoke about the is it the 3 pillars of
CBT triangle,
okay.
thoughts, emotions, and all that. Sorry, Lisa, you can deal with my thoughts process that goes manic. We are waiting. This is. Do you need clarity on the task in general, or you need me? Please clarify us so that we can answer you correctly. Don't shy away. Is there clarity, Lisa?
I don't see anything yet, Chipiwa. So maybe if you could just give us, you know, did you mean the tasks that, for example, Chipiwa would do to stay motivated and confident, or just in general? I'm Amoelang, you posted that question. Okay, there's a further follow-up from them as well. When you are told that be yourself, what exactly do people mean? And after judging that I want to impress people, how does it align with my confidence?
Yeah. So be yourself. So I want to give you this simple example. There are people who can't go outside without makeup, and that's who they are. But if you put makeup on my face, I wouldn't be able to present. I would be touching my face because I'm thinking maybe my face is disconnected. So what really works for me is presenting myself as who I am without makeup. Even how I present, it's how I interact, it's how I talk. When I'm talking, Mandu, we will remove you from the so who I am as I'm presenting here, that's how I talk to Lisa. If I'm saying Lisa this and that, this is how I talk, very spontaneous. You can see sometimes we're talking about the slides and I'm thinking about 15 other things that we are just bringing in the presentation. You cannot be able to, when you are going to present, this is not the model of how presentation should be like, because you are not me. You need to be yourself. Some people, when they present, they've got impromptu cards. If that works for you, you need to be like that, because if you try and see this, and want to do this, you will get very disorganized and feel overwhelmed. So be yourself. It's about embracing things that are comfortable for you. It's about doing things that makes you to be functional and to be effective, not trying to just take everything that other people do, to be very comfortable in your way of doing things. Yes, you must learn from other people, but you need to think, okay, will it fit with me? Will it work for me? Can I practice it first? So some people have got this tendency, they are always looking at how other people do things. They do it way better than me. So that's also like an imposter syndrome, where what others do, they tend to do way much better than you, and you never feel comfortable at the same time because that's not your style. And the follow-up question came very well, where somebody say you then tend to impress. When people want to impress others, they are very fake. It's not about them. It's like a show. You are just performing, and sometimes you are performing just for others and not yourself. And that's the core of low self-confidence. You don't feel it. It's not rewarding. It's not meaningful. It's not talking to you. And you want other people to be excited. And when they say, we didn't feel it, you get very hurt, because you would say, after all what I have done for you, because you were not doing it for yourself. It needs to start with doing it for yourself. So I like this triangle so much, because at the top it's what thoughts I have when I feel these emotions, because thoughts also talk about emotions. When you feel I'm not good enough, what is the underlying thoughts? Isn't it the underlying thoughts maybe fear? But the thoughts then affect how you feel. Where in my body do I feel these emotions? My voice, my hands start shaking. But that's also the hands shaking. What we do affects how we think and feel, and how you then behave. It's like people going to exams with the thinking, I will fail, which is a fixed mindset. When you immediately think I will fail, you have blackouts. And then you can't remember anything. But if you go to exams to say, I am prepared, I'm going to show what I learn, what I have learned, and my potential. Even when you are feeling anxious, it changes how you present yourself. Lisa, I don't want to start another presentation, so you must stop me.
No, that's no problem. We've still got time. But let's also hear if there are any further
I
questions.
think I want to go to that question whether Amohelang spoke about what do I do? Maybe also in general, what do you do to stay motivated? What you can do. The one thing I do is one thing that keeps me motivated, I've got small things I need to do at different aspects of my life. So if I have to call Lisa, I would note it down. Can I call her? And once we had the conversation, I really even give gratitude. Sure, that is done. And that's very important. People are not intentional. That talks about being intentional. When I wake up, and for me, it starts with bathing. So I've got this saying to Lisa to say, people have wasted my water and soap. Because when I'm bathing, it's intentional to say, I'm facing the day, I'm doing something. So even when you are bathing, it needs to be very intentional because it's part of self-care. You need to be connected. You are bathing to show up for yourself. And then you need to have small things to do and be very intentional about it. But at the same time, it's not about just doing. Take a moment to say, sure, I've just done this, and give gratitude to say, what have I learned, and celebrate. We always think about the bigger thing at the end of the day, and that means then we are operating on deficits. So that's another example of the smallest thing to build your self-confidence. You need to be very intentional, but secondly, you need to be present. One of the things that breaks us, we are thinking about the future, but it's very far. And when you think about the future, it can be very scary. We are looking at the past, and the past is always very discouraging because we have not done very well. So you need to focus on the present, because when you focus on the present, you only have control on the present, and it's manageable and it's practical. But both the past and the future, it's not real, and that also paralyzes you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chipiwa. I'm just going to give a minute while I switch over the presentations. Those of you who still have questions or comments, you're welcome to post them in the chat. Or then, just click on the raise button if you would want to ask your question.
And thank you for this. It has been really a very stimulating conversation also for me.
Yes, just to emphasize that we learn as much from others, who attend these sessions than you might be learning from attending these sessions. Okay, so I'm just going to share a few resources with you. Those who have attended before, you might have seen it already, but I will just go through it so that others can also know about the resources. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, so the first resource that I want to share with you, as you might have noticed, these kind of events, we call them career talks. So our intention for the year is to organize these events, and we've invited speakers from different fields or different industries or professions to come and talk to us about all the skills that we need to manage our careers more effectively. So in terms of resources, you could go and also take a look at the PNET Grad Pack. It's a book that you can download. This one, as well as the second one that I'm going to show you, contains a lot of information about all the aspects or the skills that you need in order to manage your career, but specifically then the practical things like CV writing, interview skills, how does recruitment work? How do you negotiate a salary package? What do you include in your cover letter? So all of those questions are answered in this PNET Grad Pack, as well as this Grad Next book. Both of them are available free of charge. So we would really encourage you to go and take a look at them. You don't have to read everything at once, but these are resources that you can keep with you and consult as you need the support. Then our next career events, we've got Networking for Career Growth, which will be next on the 22nd of April. And on the 24th of April, we're talking about igniting career opportunities with LinkedIn. The information for these sessions should be available on the calendar soon, but also just continuously check for announcements on the My UNISA events calendar for our future events. You're also welcome to send either Mrs. Makanya, my colleague, or myself an email if there are any suggestions that you have for further sessions that we can organize or arrange that you could benefit from. We are also open to those suggestions. Then Chipiwa spoke about getting support. So at UNISA, one of the support departments would be us, which is counseling and career development. You're welcome to send us an email to counseling, excuse me, counseling@unisa.ac.za. You can also book an appointment with a student counselor. It can be online, or you could contact the counsellor at the UNISA regional office closest to you if you would rather make an appointment for counselling in person. Then on our website, as well as our YouTube channel, over the years, we have curated several resources that you can use. Those could be recordings of workshops such as this one, but it's also brochures, audio that you can download, things that you can read, and all of it is centered around your career, your academic, and your personal development. So on that note, let me just go back. Let me just check if we've got any chats or hands. I don't see any at the moment, so I'm going to invite my colleague, Mr. Becky Mzobi, if he could just end off the session for us. Thank you, Becky.
For this opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks during this career talk session. And good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of UNISA, Directorate for Counseling and Career Development, I would like to extend our thanks to each of you for joining us today. A special word of appreciation goes to our guest speaker, Dr. Chifiwa Kodisang, who is also our senior staff member, for sharing such valuable insights and practical strategies on building self-confidence. Thank you, Chifiwa, for helping us unpack and understand this important and often complex topic, and for highlighting how self-confidence can shape and influence both our lives in general and in our career journeys. Your relatable examples were truly inspiring and provided our students with practical tools they can carry forward as they build their futures. Once again, thank you, Chifiwa. Thank you, Lisa, for facilitating today's discussion, ensuring a smooth and engaging session. To all attendees, thank you for your engagement, your curiosity, and for choosing to invest in your personal and professional growth. We hope today's session will empower you to take bold steps with greater confidence. Once again, thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you at our next career talk. All the best on your career journey. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you very much, Becky. And from our side, also, we hope that it's not the last time that we see or hear from you. So we hope to see you in future sessions, and all the best for the rest of this week. Thank you.